Russia's energy exports have long been central to its geopolitical strategy, but the recent global shifts in the energy market are taking this influence to a new level. As Moscow pivots its oil and gas supplies away from traditional Western markets and focuses on new partners, the power dynamics of the world are quietly being reshaped. Most nations aren't ready for the consequences, but the effects are already unfolding on the global stage. Russia has historically relied on European markets as the primary buyers of its energy, especially natural gas. In fact, over 40% of Europe's gas came from Russia before the conflict in Ukraine. However, as tensions escalated and Western sanctions began to bite, Moscow responded by recalibrating its entire energy strategy. Instead of crumbling under pressure, Russia turned to the east, securing new deals with nations like China and India. These new partnerships aren't just survival tactics, they are laying the groundwork for a new global power structure. China has emerged as one of Russia's most important energy partners. The Power of Siberia pipeline, which pumps natural gas directly from Russia to China, symbolizes this deepening relationship. This energy flow is critical for Beijing's growing energy needs, while Moscow secures a steady revenue stream from a partner that doesn't play by Western rules. The shift eastward isn't just about energy, it's about geopolitics. Russia is reinforcing its position as a central player in the new Eurasian power balance, where Western influence is steadily being replaced by emerging powers. Russia has long used its energy resources as a tool for leverage, but now this weapon is sharper than ever. While Europe scrambles to replace Russian gas with more expensive alternatives, Moscow is quietly gaining new allies and expanding its influence across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Countries like Turkey and India are becoming increasingly reliant on Russian oil and gas, which gives Moscow significant bargaining power. In Africa, Russian energy exports are helping fuel economic growth in countries looking for cheaper alternatives to Western supplies. This energy diplomacy is winning Moscow key allies in regions that were once firmly under Western influence. As these new relationships solidify, Russia is creating a network of nations less reliant on Western economies and more willing to engage in a multipolar world. The West's ability to isolate Russia is steadily eroding as Moscow builds bridges with countries that see value in what it has to offer, especially when it comes to energy. One of the most underreported but critical aspects of this energy shift is the growing use of the Chinese yuan in Russia's energy transactions. Historically, oil has been traded in US dollars, giving the United States immense power over the global financial system. But as Russia and China increasingly settle energy deals in yuan, we may be witnessing the slow decline of the petrodollar. If the trend continues, the dominance of the US dollar in global trade could be challenged, shifting economic power eastward. This move towards the petro-yuan is more than just a financial shift. It's a geopolitical one. Moscow and Beijing are essentially weakening the West's grip on the global financial system by promoting alternatives. And with Russia being one of the largest energy exporters in the world, this could have a profound impact on the global balance of power. Europe, once heavily dependent on Russian energy, is now in a tough spot. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, European nations rushed to impose sanctions and sever their reliance on Moscow's gas. However, replacing Russian gas has proven more difficult than anticipated. Europe has been forced to turn to more expensive liquefied natural gas, LNG, from the US, Qatar, and other suppliers, leading to skyrocketing energy prices across the continent. While Europe faces an uncertain energy future, Russia is finding new buyers and thriving despite sanctions. The high global oil and gas prices, partly driven by Western sanctions, have boosted Moscow's revenues. So, while Europe struggles to stabilize its energy supplies, Russia's coffers continue to grow. The realignment of Russia's energy exports is having ripple effects across the world. By shifting its focus to China, India, and other non-Western nations, Moscow is helping to create a new geopolitical order where the West no longer holds all the cards. Emerging economies in Asia and Africa, once considered peripheral, are now becoming central to the global energy market, and by extension, the world's power structures. This redistribution of energy flows is laying the groundwork for future conflicts and competition. With Russia's energy as the backbone of many developing economies, these nations are becoming less aligned with the West, while Moscow gains a growing sphere of influence. Russia's energy exports aren't just fueling economies, they're redrawing the power maps of the world. By shifting its focus away from the West and toward emerging markets, Moscow is not only surviving US-led sanctions, but thriving in a changing global landscape. As energy flows change, so do alliances, and the consequences of this realignment could shape the future of global politics for decades to come. The question now is, how will the West adapt to this new energy reality?